How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Rec Center podcast. I'm your host, Danny Zavala, and we have Jenny Smith on board. So she is co-owner of Actualize Sports. She is a certified strength conditioning coach specialist through the NSCA, and she happens to be 30 under 35 here in Wenatchee Valley. And today we're going to be talking about strength training and her success over her professional journey and personal journey and how she's leading others. Jenny, how are we doing?
We're doing good. We're thriving. We're surviving.
Yeah, so we just got the green light from Governor Inslee to open up the gyms, which is really exciting. So I'm sure you're busy right now. So thanks for taking the time.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah, awesome. So hey, I got a couple of questions just to start off this interview. I kind of want to debunk some myths that a lot of people have about strength training, and I kind of want your personal approach or your intake. People think I don't want to lift weights because it's going to make me huge. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that people think that it's going to make you huge, but really it's just going to make you strong. So people kind of have this thing that like it goes hand in hand that you have to be big to be strong, but it really doesn't. And it takes a really, really long time for people to get like that bulky look, like you think CrossFitter type. Those people who look like that have been doing this for like 20 years and like doing the same type of like big, heavy lifts. But, you just coming into the gym and lifting 20s over 15s really isn't going to make like a big size difference, but it's definitely going to make a difference in the way that you are, strong in your legs, your core, your upper body to kind of prevent injury and things like that.
Yeah, I love how you said the injury portion because that's huge, especially with, the modern day that we're in. We're on Zoom right now. We're doing a lot of sitting. So just preventing injury, which might be from over excessively sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy that you hit that. No, thanks for that. And then a lot of the things, so a lot of ladies tend to steer away from strength training. You being a strength trainer, being a powerful woman, being strong, what's some advice that you can give to them?
Well, I think just, dabbling in it kind of debunks the myth for themselves. I think people are just afraid because they see the extremes on social media. And again, going back to that CrossFit thing, that's all they're looking at is these really strong, but they're like buff ladies, but that's like the extreme version. So if you get this like more fitness enthusiast middle ground, it really isn't going to be so like magnifying on your body, but it really is just going to make you strong. And again, it's like a lot of like, for women, you need a lot of testosterone to gain that much muscle mass. Not saying that these ladies in CrossFit have too much testosterone, but it's just either the years or anything that like goes along with that. But honestly, for me as a woman, what I found to be like the most beneficial for me is the strength training in the way that like I love to run. And so I think that I'm not ever like the fastest or like anything like that. But like when we do trail runs, I honestly feel like it helps me because I'm so strong and like my ligaments and my joints and like my muscles can protect me when I'm running up and down mountains, and I can run faster like downhill than a lot of people because I can like trust my body. And so like I can see it directly translate into, my sport or like what I like to do. So, the strength training aids in almost everything: biking, running, hiking, walking, yoga, all of it. And I think just dabbling in it will change a lot of women's minds.
And I like what you said. You said strength training aids what you want to do. And I think that's like the true key for strength training, right? Like that's what I use it for. It's like I use a lot of my strength training to do a lot of the trail runs that I do, a lot of the biking, and I might have a couple of aches and pains in my back. So I do the strength training to avoid injury and to increase overall fulfillment within my sport.
Right. The sport of life.
There we go. I love it.
For us.
Awesome. So we're going to dive right into it, Jenny. Thanks for highlighting those questions. So just so those that are listening, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mentioned that you're co-owner of Actualize Sports, but we want to hear it all, like where you're born, where you're raised, what you studied in college, and where you're at today.
Yeah. So again, I'm Jenny Smith, and I actually grew up in the Valley. Born and raised here. I think it's the most amazing place on the planet. It has everything, and it really just like, it raised me well, I'd say. So I grew up in the Valley, and when I was growing up, I played soccer my whole life. And so soccer was like my thing. But when I was growing up in the Valley, we didn't have, like right now, I think they have like 3 different soccer teams. And we didn't have that. We had one, the original like Wenatchee Fire team. And it was the same team for Cashmere, Leavenworth, like Brewster, East Wenatchee. It was like one team for all of that. So really there were like maybe 20 girls in the Valley that actually like played competitively and like played like club. And so like that wanted to go and play soccer in college. So it was like a really tiny team, and it really wasn't that hard to be like the best from where you came from. And so nobody really ever taught you that you needed to be better or do more to be better, because it was just good enough. And we were great for what we were. But then when I was like in 8th or 9th grade, the Wenatchee Fire team folded. So all these girls that wanted to go play in college didn't really have anywhere to go. And the high schools at that time really only fed into community colleges, which is great. But if you wanted to play at like a 4-year university, then you needed to play club. It's different for other sports, but for soccer, it's just kind of the way it is. So then when I was like in 9th or 10th grade, we committed to playing in Seattle. And so a lot of girls would have to drive 2 hours over the pass twice a week to play games and practice and be on a team. And so that's how I was fed into college. But I think that was kind of the start of where I started to realize that I needed a little bit more to, be the best or excel at my sport. And I didn't really know what that was, but it was like my first, my first jump into like what competition actually looked like.
Yeah.
So then after that, I went to go play at Montana State University in Billings, Montana. So we were a D2 school. It's like 10 hours away. And I really just wanted to play. Again, we were kind of late to the game, where now people have like recruiters, people have, and the internet, like that was in the time of like, it was people just getting Wi-Fi and not dial up. Like it was a different time. And so, we didn't really make videos so we went and visited schools and stuff like that. So,
or like the highlight videos were CDs.
Yeah, exactly. And you'd like mail them your CD or burn it to your computer. Yes. Oh man. But it just wasn't the way it is now. So then I ended up going to play in Montana, and I just had like a $500 scholarship. I just wanted to play. I didn't really know how to do more than that. But so I went to go play, and it was like probably the hardest year of my whole entire life, because it's like, again, like I said, it's like the best in your little valley. And then when you go and play with all these like, big time players that like are also the best in their little valley, then it's like you kind of get your feet knocked out from under you. And that's where my like desire awoke to like be more than what I was, because I had never been told, oh, you could be better. And this is like the first time that I was like bombarded with those feelings of like, oh my gosh, I need to step it up, but I don't know what to do. And so then after my freshman year of college soccer being like so hard and so draining, like I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, but I wanted more. And so that's when I met Blaine, who is my co-owner now at Actualize. And he was just kind of training in gyms. He was Actualize in like different gyms. So he started at Gold's Gym for a long time ago, and then he moved to Inner Circle, and then they were also at Cross Sport. So he kind of like went through these different places of like what could house him at the time, and like space and stuff. So it was never like against any of the gyms. It was just he needed a lot of space, and so Cross Sport ended up being the best place for him to be at later in the time. But that's how I met him. And he's my dad's like really close friend. And so I ended up working with him, and he like changed my life. I mean, he like, it was cool because I've never had like a man who's like 10 years older than me, like come down and be like a peer to me and like talk me through things and like, again, like awake that desire in me to be more, but like have the same like morals and values as like my dad, but then also be like a friend and like be able to like talk through things and like the hardships. And but he just constantly spoke identity over me. And so it was like a lot of the mental stuff that I was battling of not being good enough. And you know, so he was really able to like speak good things over me. But then he also, you know, changed my sport. So I was the girl that ate like hot Cheetos after school every single day. I would have like a peanut butter Nutella sandwich before dinner, like just putting junk into my body, and just again had no idea that I like just didn't know the water I was swimming in. And so then once I started strength training and doing like speed, agility, reaction, quickness work, I became like that much better. And I was never like the quickest or the fastest girl, but I was definitely one of the quickest by the end of my time with him. And yeah, again, he just like completely changed my life. So I ended up, by the time that I went back to work with him after my freshman year, and by the time that I was coming home from my sophomore year, I had taken my $500 scholarship to like a full paid tuition.
Wow.
So
I mean, talk about an incredible journey. Somebody that, you know, you're great in your community, and then all of a sudden you go to a D2 school and everybody's great. And you never thought of, you know, investing into your physical performance because you were always the best. So that makes sense. Like you don't know what you don't know until you're actually exposed to that. And then going through that journey with Blaine, and I've had the privilege of working with Blaine and working with you, and he's an amazing guy. And I think that's what's special about being in strength training, is that you find a deeper identity within yourself, and then somebody is always there to give you that helping hand. Of course, you do have to go seeking that. You know, you always have to go over that hill to find yourself. Like I saw a chart the other day, and it was talking about business and emotional health. So basically, you get up to a certain point, and to get over that certain point, to hop up and just keep on jumping on the graph, there has to be a big change. And at times that big change is usually a big setback, whether that's in profits or emotional or spiritual, or you're having to give something up that isn't what you necessarily want immediately, but in return, the long-term benefits of it is growth and prosperity, which is so cool. I'm super stoked that you're talking about just your journey. And so now you're in strength training, you're a co-owner, so you train individuals pretty much day to day. And you kind of talk about how you got in with strength training. So what motivated you to go down this path, other than, you know, you finding just like growth in your sport, and you end up getting a full ride, or not a full ride scholarship, or was it a full ride?
It was all tuition paid. So I really, you know, there were girls on my team that would like get checks from the school. So I think that's like a full time or a full ride, is when you get paid to like go to school for like your housing and stuff. So I didn't get that much, but it was dang near close.
Wow. So at that point, you end up coming back to the Valley, and what motivated you to go down this path of strength training and being a CSCS coach?
Yeah, so I graduated school with a business degree, and I've always had this like thing in me that I wanted to sorry, my dog's barking.
Oh, that's all right. All right, so what motivated you to go down this path? Because you were just finishing up with college, and now you're back in the Valley, and now you're a strength trainer. So what was it that really geared you to go down this path?
Yeah, so I got my degree in Billings, Montana I got a business degree because I just thought I wanted to like do nonprofit work, or I wanted to, it was kind of like, you know, it's a small school. So I just kind of went with it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I did have this thing in me that I wanted to be like helpful to the world. I didn't really want to like climb a corporate ladder or do things like that, or like have a desk job. Really, I wanted to see things change, and I didn't really know what that was. I had a lot of different passions, and I felt purpose behind a lot of things, but nothing quite aligned. So I ended up traveling and working at a nonprofit. I lived in Thailand for 4 months, and it was, yeah, it was a lot, but it was just really, really heavy. And somebody told me this thing while I was there, and it was like, if you're not directly impacting your community at home, then what are you doing halfway across the world? And I was like, good question.
Light bulb went off.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I get that. And I do think that we need people to like travel all over the world, but there's also people at home that need, people that helped me. Like, there were so many people in my life that helped me. I wanted to be like a catalyst for change in other people as well. So I was thinking about what changed me the most. And it was definitely Blaine and Actualize. And, so that's kind of where the desire struck again. It was like, I wanted to do what Blaine did. And so again, I had a business degree, and then I went and as a business degree, you don't learn anything about anatomy or anything like that. So I knew I wanted to study for the best certification I could get is the one from the NSCA. So the CSCS. And so it took a while. Like, I studied hard for like a year, 6 months. And, because I wanted to get that certification, because I wanted to just kind of have that in my back pocket. And because I didn't have really any background in it other than the 4 years of experience from just being one of his athletes, and then also the 2 years after that of I started interning for him as soon as I decided that I wanted to do that. So I just was like a shadow to him and learned everything that I could. So yeah.
Yeah, and now you're inspiring others just like he inspired you.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. That's the
No,
just yeah.
So I want to hit like what was your biggest setback being a trainer or co-owner of Actualize? Especially with COVID hitting right now, would you say that's pretty relatable and that's probably a big setback, or is there something else that happened in your career?
Yeah, well, I think COVID has definitely been the biggest setback for us. I think my biggest setback in my athletic career would have been what projected me into this. So I feel like I can, they always say like you can see like things working in your past, but that you don't see like in your future. So like I can see how it all came together. And, now that we're kind of getting to the end of this COVID, I've learned a lot from it. But it really just put into perspective like what we're actually doing and what we want out of it. And so, yeah, I would definitely say that COVID has been our biggest setback, but the growth along the way was really pretty hard. Being like a business owner, first of all, a small business owner in a small valley, we've been lean and mean since we opened, and it's just been Blaine and I. And then, finding quality employees, this is going to sound weird, but like finding quality employees is hard. There's amazing people out there that want to work, but people really glamorize working at a gym. Like they're like, just because you're passionate about like health and wellness doesn't mean that you're also passionate about, being a coach or being like teaching classes. Just because you like it doesn't mean that it's something that you can do or something that you want to do often, because it's early mornings. It's a lot of empathy for people and being with people in their crap a lot, like all day long. It's like you're changing your empathy string for like 15 different people, and you always have to be on, you have to be energetic, and it's long hours, it's draining, and that's just not for everybody. So that's been kind of a challenge, is finding like the right people to get on the boat with us. And the people who have that dream and desire to impact lives. And I think COVID has really allowed me to kind of settle on the dream and what, like Blaine's number one strength is belief. So he has these, like, he's a dreamer. He is like outrageous, like, let's go get it. And I'm very futuristic, and achiever is my other one. So it's like, we are like set on our goals, but during this setback, it's allowed us to be like, okay, well, what are we actually doing? And what is actually like, what does like being impactful actually mean? And what we've kind of allowed ourselves to settle on is that these little moments with people are really the things that make the most change and are the most like the thing that you can hold on to the most, because what is success? Like the big dream might never happen, but does that mean that these past 5 years that we've been open didn't mean anything? No, it's like, I think that the day-to-day, moment-to-moment, like success and happiness that like you're bringing each other is like really the only thing that we can hold on to. So yeah.
I just want to say one thing. I think the first word that comes to mind when I think of Actualize Sports, because I've had the privilege of working there, working with you and also Blaine, is like, everything's intentional.
Yes.
There is a lot of belief, there is a lot of motivation, but I think everything is built with intention, because I've had the privilege of working with professional athletes, people with special needs, so from all spectrums, and I've gone to those professional training facilities, and the equipment that is in the gym, down to the programming, down to the customer service, which is essentially the root of success when it comes to training, is you can have the best program in the world, but you have to have excellent coaches that provide unbelievable customer service, that motivate those individuals. And really, I was surprised that even existed in our valley. Like really, like I'm not even.
It's all Blaine. I mean, you know him. You know what intention looks like. Yes.
Oh no, for sure. And it was definitely the next level. And I guess what I want to say is that you've planted the seed, you've grown the roots, and now you're growing the fruit. And I think what Actualize does best is growing that fruit and then allowing that fruit to then grow more roots. And that's like the best business model is referral based. The individuals that find that success, that you're motivating, that you're changing their lives, and that you essentially, Jenny, you don't have to do the work. Somebody else is doing the work for you, right? Because they're just because you've inspired them so well. It's like Blaine created a Jenny, and Jenny is going to create a Blaine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, I do think that's something that Wenatchee does well, though, is like word of mouth. Like people in Wenatchee are loyal and they love to like advocate for other businesses and people. Like I think that's something that everybody kind of holds dear to their heart, is like little Wenatchee and little Wenatchee small businesses. So
yeah, definitely. So I want to hit on what your biggest accomplishment is so far.
Oh man, I think just even opening Actualize, I sometimes I'm like looking at myself, I'm like, I'm a business owner and I'm 27 and I'm living a dream. I'm living my dream. And so that's just in itself, the fact that we opened up a business and that we're 5 years into a business, I can hold that so dearly to my heart. And it's my biggest accomplishment to date. And yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And there's a lot of steps that go into play when operating a business. So props.
Thanks.
Yeah. And what motivates you day after day to get up out of bed and, open the gym at 4:30 a.m.?
Oh my gosh.
That takes a lot. So what's that motivation? What's that fire burning deep down inside?
Yeah. That's a good question, because it must be the people. Like I really do love to watch people's like dreams come alive in them and watch them do really hard things. Like it's like my favorite thing to look at the people that just showed up at 4:30 in the morning. Everybody's groggy and stuff, but once they get in there, the music's on, everybody's happy. It's like all these little like friendship groups that are like only get to see each other at 4:30 in the morning. It's like a crazy thing. I'm looking outside, the stars are out there, but we're working out. Like, so there's like, it's hard to get out of bed and it's hard to get there. But then once you're there, it's like, there's just so much joy in the place. And then like every hour after hour, it's just like a new set of people, a new set of joy, and a different like dynamic with every different group. But I think my favorite thing is like looking at those people who just showed up at 4:30 in the morning and then they're leaving at 5:30 in the morning to start the rest of their days. Like we have like lawyers, like people who are doctors and teachers, a ton of teachers, like they're going to go and impact lives for the rest of their day. But the amount of times that they told themselves, oh, that's like too heavy. I can't get out of bed. I'm too tired. Or, I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not strong enough. I'm this and that. And like how many times they've overcame their own like negative self-talk or their own walls that they've put on themselves. And how many times they've like crashed through them only at 5:30 in the morning, like the amount of times that they have overcome just in that hour of their day. And so how much better they're going to be set up for like the rest of their day if they've already like accomplished so much. I think that's the craziest thing. Like waking up to do something hard to set the day off at a good pace is awesome.
Totally. And I want to hear your morning routine to wake up at 4:30, because I'm sure everybody who's listening is like, oh man, I could never do that. Like I'm a snoozer, man. I hit the snooze
man.
time. So what really like gets you out of the bed? Like, is it a routine that you've done, or is it like, are you a double snoozer and by the second snooze you got to get up?
I think if I know people are going to be there. So it's like, as a coach, you have that responsibility that I have to be there a half hour before class, and I'm the one setting the tone. So if I'm tired and people come in, like, no way. And again, it's that like that desire to make people come alive and people be happy. So it's like my feet hit the floor and I want to be like the most intentioned coach. I want to be the elite coach. I want to be the happy coach. I want to be the one that gets people there. And also I think it's a good like thing to have a quality routine set in place, because if I go to bed any later than 9, then I'm a zombie. But it's kind of like fake it till you make it. If you're everybody has those days that they're just too tired, but you can't be tired if you're teaching. And so I definitely think a routine helps if you're not the kind of person that likes to get up early. It's just practice and practice, no double snoozing, just get out of bed. And it's like, get the coffee pot going. But like once you're out of bed, I think people find a lot of solitude and like quiet and like beautiful things in the morning time. It's really just making sure you get to bed on time and setting yourself up for success. So some people like have their clothes set out to, like, if you have a partner who's sleeping with like next to you and you don't want to wake them up, like it's still like getting out of bed, going into the next room right away. There's lots of things that you can set up for yourself that make it worth it, because then when it's 5:30 in the morning and you're done, some people have to be to work at 6, but some people don't have to be to work till 8. And so then they have those like 2.5 hours in the morning that you didn't have before. And you think about it, like in your night before, if you're just hanging out, like watching TV, like there's so many better things that you can do in the morning if you just put yourself to bed and wake up early and get it done.
Totally. I'm naturally a heavy sleeper, and I like to sleep in, or that was my past, right? And I've actually like transitioned myself over the past 5 years. I had a job that I had to start at 7 a.m., which you're probably thinking 7 a.m.
Oh,
that's the time my third shift comes in. But that was early to me. So, I was never used to working at 7 a.m., so I had to wake up earlier. And now I just have been pushing the clock forward. So now I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, which that's after your first routine. But the joy that I get from waking up early and having those routines set in place and being in solitude, enjoying my coffee, reviewing my day is where the wins really happen. And you mentioned, doctors, lawyers coming in at that 4:30 session, getting out at 5:30, and then basically cultivating success throughout the day. And it reminded me, so I'm reading this book, an audiobook. It's called Killing Sacred Cows by Garrett Gunderson. And no, they're not killing cows, but they're basically killing myths, financial myths and personal myths that lie within our society that we just hold on to. And one of the stories he talks about is the goose that laid golden eggs. And basically the goose is us, and the golden eggs are what we produce. And I just got so much joy out of listening to this, because oftentimes we neglect the goose because we want the golden eggs. So we're so caught up on the golden eggs, like just producing, which eventually will stop producing because we have neglected the one thing that matters the most, and that's the goose. the doctors waking up in the morning and
Yeah.
getting their workout in from 4:30 to 5:30. They're cherishing, they're nurturing, they're protecting, they're feeding, they're growing that goose to be as healthy as possible. That way they can give as much back as they can and they can produce those golden eggs, which that sounds probably like a crazy, metaphor, or a crazy story, but I just resonated with it so much and it just makes so
Yeah.
much sense with what you're talking about.
Yeah. And they're laughing, they have community. That's the best part too. It's like,
Yes.
yeah, they're nourishing their bodies, but it's like we have this group of guys that come in at 4:30 in the morning, and it's a lot of women in our gym, but we have a lot of men too. And it's like bro time. It's so funny. They're all like cheering each other on, and like they're doing bench press together, and like it's just there's a lot of camaraderie and laughter that happens even at 4:30 in the morning.
That's awesome. So in short, protect your goose.
Protect your goose.
All right. So I feel like you have so much knowledge and you're in the fitness industry. If someone wanted to get started within producing their own strength training program, or they wanted to become a trainer, like what kind of advice do you have and where can you point them?
Well, to get started in strength training or find their strength training program, I would say like just connect to something local, something that that you can like establish a community with. I think that goes a long way. In like this COVID time, it's kind of funky, but you can find a lot of like online resources probably from a lot of our local gyms. I know that, we're putting things online, or people can call us and we make them programs that they can do at their home gym if they're not comfortable going to a gym yet. I know that like Inner Circle is doing online stuff. I know like Ela Yoga is doing online stuff. So it's just finding something that you like can align with and that that you will do at home if you're not going to be able to like go to a place and have a community there. But again, getting started, I think having a community or finding a mentor. So like having if you're going to start strength training, having a community will be helpful. Like you're not going to wake up at 4 a.m. to go to class unless you have a friend that's like there waiting for you to go. Like I'll hit snooze. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go on a run in the morning. No, I'm not, but if I have somebody that's like at my doorstep waiting for me, or I'll let somebody down if I'm not there, then I'm going to show up. But then if you're like looking to get started in the strength training world, like as like a coach, like you want to, like that's something you want to pursue as like a passion, then I would definitely find a mentor, somebody that like, again, you align with. So it's like all about community at the end of the day, I think. Find somebody that will help you. Can I tell a funny story about you?
Yeah, totally.
So I don't know, for people who are listening, Danny helped me study for my CSCS. And so Blaine gave me Danny's number. And so Danny was going to give me all of his like resources to help me study. And so I called Danny, and Danny's supposed to meet me at Cafe Mela. And Danny ghosted me. Danny did not show up. And I'm like, what the heck? Who is this guy? And then I get a call like a week later, and Danny's like, oh, sorry, I lost my phone in my couch. This is you. And I was like, what? So I got ghosted because he lost his phone in the couch, didn't help me study, but then he redeemed himself and then he showed up, and that's how him and I met, just so everybody on the podcast knows.
Such a highlight of my life.
Such a highlight. We got started off the wrong foot, but we redeemed ourselves. And
here we are now about 4 to 5 years later.
Right. And just how, again, it kind of goes to show that having people in your corner and people that are going to help you grow will take you so far. And learn from people who are smarter than you. Like, don't put your ego out there and think that you're like the smartest person in the room. Like, be humbled and like try to just soak in information. Like, do online classes, do a bunch of research, and get involved in gyms. Like, if you want to be a strength trainer, go be an intern, go work for free, go clean a gym for a free membership, things like that, and allow people to like speak into you and soak it all in, because you're gonna need to learn until you're dead. So
definitely, it's an ongoing process. And since we're on that topic, if somebody wants to reach out, they want to get a membership at Actualize Sports, or let's just say maybe there's some individual that plans on pursuing that as a career. How do they get in contact with you? Can they get in contact with you? What are your social media tags? We'll make sure to put them down below.
Yes.
That way people can reach out to you.
Yeah. So if you want to get a hold of us, I'm definitely the person to go to for the communication stuff. So it's jenny@actualizesports.com if you want to email me. Our Instagram is just Actualize Sports. Our Facebook is Actualize Sports as well. Yeah, we do a lot of like internship type things at the gym, and we have classes going right now. We're slowly adding classes as they go. So if you want to jump into the gym and you feel comfortable, then we have like a lot of different pricing options and starting out prices. And, you know, we work with athletes as well as your, you know, adult fitness enthusiasts. So we got a lot of stuff. And I would just say that we do really well. If this is anything that we do well at meeting people right where they're at. So it's never too late. It's never too early to jump into some strength training.
Awesome. Well, Jenny, thank you so much for joining us. I feel like a lot of people got a lot out of this.